Giving all glory, all honor, and all praises to the mighty Yah by saying hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Thank you all for tuning in to Set There Leon, Secret Place of the Most High. Today's podcast will be Duty of Man, Marriage and Relationships, Episode 11, hosted by Elder Moray Yemuel of the House of Israel community here in Cincinnati. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Well, we got another episode here. Got some good stuff to talk about. And like I told you, we're getting a lot of positive feedback on these relationship issues that hopefully will end up in marriage.
Yeah.
And so we got some things to talk about today, and let's kick it off. You ready to get started with it?
Yeah, ready.
All right. Pick up. It'll pick up from my mic. Put your mic on. All right. Here's my first question. I really want to get some detailed insight on because you've got a pretty daggone good mind, especially to be as young as you are. What are you again? 27. You got get ready to be 28. Or you 20?
I'll be 28 in August.
28 in August.
Yeah.
Man, you getting old. You getting old. Still a pretty young man, though. You're still pretty young.
Absolutely.
Is it a man's job to make a woman happy? Let's talk about that for a minute because, I hear things and I'm listening to different relationships. I done talked to guys and they say the woman they were involved with said that he just didn't make them happy, and let me give you my perspective and then I want to talk to you and get your perspective on it.
Absolutely. And that's a good question too.
Because a lot of people have been brought up with this Disney mentality, with the picket fence and the house, the dog, the car, and the guy who has the perfect job and he makes her happy and all of this. But the fact of the matter, as far as I know, that a man can never add, or should I say, make a woman happy, nor can a woman. She can please him, and I'll get to that because there's a different scenario that I'm going to give for that side. But right now, a man cannot make a woman happy. He can add to her happiness. See, an individual have to be happy within themselves. And what I mean by that is if a woman said that she needs that man to make her happy, well, what if that man is no longer involved with her or no longer in existence or whatever? Is that to say that this woman can never be happy again? She can't be happy? That makes no sense to me. See, the thing is, we can do some things to add to one's happiness, but a person has to be happy within themselves. They have to find things that they enjoy in life. It could be something as simple as for a woman to smell fresh flowers or to see fresh flowers or to see, I don't know, her baby take her first steps or his first steps or something. It's those little things. A person can take a nice little vacation, even by themselves, right? And just be enthused by what they see in that particular experience. And then it just give them fond memories that make them happy. So I think we have an illusion, a false sense of what happiness is and how we receive happiness. Because if a woman was to say, that she left the man because he did not make her happy. No, that woman left for other reasons. Either that's not the one she wanted to be with, because truly if a woman want to be with a particular man, she's not just going to walk away like that. You see what I'm saying?
Real talk.
So she's not emotionally attached anymore. She's not emotionally involved anymore. But what's your perspective on that? Can a man make a woman happy? I know your generation might see it a little bit different.
I used to think that. I used to think it was my job to make my woman's life happy. I know the creator, he talks about when a man and a woman are freshly married, that he's supposed to spend a year at rest, really, not to be overextending himself, like in terms of business and things of that nature. But for 1 year, he's supposed to cheer up his wife. In that sense, I do believe in that first year of marriage. I do believe in a process of cheering the woman up, which is just being there with her, spending quality time with her, using that full year just dedicated to y'all love and y'all marriage. So in that regard, yes, I do believe in cheering her up, but to make her happy, I would love to find a woman who's happy before I marry him. To me, that's the ultimate blessing. And hopefully I'm walking in the right way and I'm leading in the right way and I don't destroy her happiness or her femininity. But I would love to find a woman who's already happy before we even tie any knots. In regards to that concept of making a woman happy in a relationship, I think it can be kind of unrealistic. And it creates a sense of dependency upon that man, which means that he won't have time to do what he need to do because he's too busy trying to make this woman happy. That man got to work 6 days a week to the sweat of his brow, and he has to continue to build himself up, his wife up, his children up, his house up. He don't always have time to quote unquote make his woman happy. It should be her delight to be married, first of all. Secondly, it should be her delight to do her job and fulfill her role, which is to be a helpmeet to her husband. So in the areas that he slacks in, that should bring her happiness to please her man.
It should.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
That
Man,
should bring her
you're
happiness.
saying a mouthful.
Yes,
Keep
sir.
going.
Yes, sir.
You know what? Here's the thing that I've noticed. And again, man, I've got to give you flowers, while you're alive. And when I say that, for those who are listening by way of listening audience, that's not a physical flower. It's to let a person know how you feel about them while
they're in fact alive. And my thing is, man, you really got a lot of wisdom. You
Great
really
job.
do.
Great job.
You answered that beautifully. See, because it's not a man's job to make a woman happy. When he marries a woman, he has a duty of marriage, a duty of protection and providing. You see what I'm saying? And the duty of marriage. Do you see what I'm saying? So he has those responsibilities, just like a woman has her duty as well.
There you go.
But see, a lot of times people don't really understand because marriage has been so commercialized. You see, and marriage, yes, it's been commercialized, and it's been commercialized to where it's the benefit for a woman solely. You see, because nowadays a woman thinks she could be however it is that she wants to be. And let me say this, and the reason it's become so commercialized is because a lot of the people that get married today and in the past, they didn't have a traditional mindset, meaning where marriage actually came from and who ordained marriage. You see what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
The principles of marriage. You see, marriage right now is wow. It's not what it used to be. Matter of fact, let me say this. People gonna get mad. I probably said it before. I don't really care if they get mad because I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it about the Almighty. He's the one who ordained marriage. Marriage is supposed to be, notice I said supposed to be, between a man and a woman.
Absolutely.
A man and a woman. Now I know 2 women gonna get mad at me when they hear this, or 2 men gonna get mad at me, or that man at his picnic table gonna get mad at me, or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But the Almighty said he was that third cord in the marriage.
Absolutely. Easy.
You see what I'm saying? So he determines what's a marriage and not a marriage. And my mind is going to be stayed on that. But like I say, that duty of marriage, you see, that's that man having this intimacy with his wife. And of course, we talked about the desire of a woman should be, how can I please my
There
husband?
you go.
And we also talked about, you just said that a woman is that wife is that husband's helpmate.
Yes, sir.
So in order for her to be that helpmate that he needs and that he requires, that means he has to give her instruction on the things that he wants her to be able to help him with. That means that woman meaning his wife has to be willing to receive those instructions. That means that wife needs to be cooperative. And in today's times, a lot of women are not like so. They're not going to be cooperative because a lot of them have come up with that myth, happy wife, happy life. So that the wife has to be happy. And even some guys feel that they've adapted themselves to that mentality. Happy wife, happy life. Meaning that the wife, she wears the pants.
Right.
And that's butt backwards.
Yep.
That's butt backwards. A man who allows his wife to head that house, then who's the man of the house? Is she the man of the house, or is he the man of the house? Who's the boss? Who's the head?
Period. Yep.
That's not the order that the Almighty set forth.
Not at all.
You see, and that's the reason I say marriage has been completely commercialized, and it's not what it used to be. It's not what it was designed to be. So let's talk a little bit more about marriage. I got another question for you. See, we're going to get into some deep things today. And the reason we're doing it, well, let me just ask this question. What benefit is it today for a man who has a traditional mindset? He has traditional values. What benefit is it for him to marry a woman in the day's time that holds a modern mindset? He's traditional. In other words, he gets his foundation for marriage from the Creator and the traditions that were passed down in the way that a man should conduct himself in a marriage, as far as being a protector and a provider and the duty of marriage and running that household. But if he marries a woman with a modern mindset, meaning she's not on that, she's on what's going on today, what benefit is it for that man, if there's in fact a benefit? So speak on it, if you will.
I'm gonna lean on what the Almighty said in prophecy. He told us to seek the old path, to look from the rock which he was hewn, look unto Abraham, your father, and Sarah, which bare you. When we go back and we look at the ancient ways of doing things, I mean, it's the complete opposite. So, in pursuing a wife, I would not recommend a man with traditional values to marry a woman that has modern. That is to marry a woman with a modern mindset. I would not recommend that.
See, here's what's so crucial, though.
Yeah.
Most men and most women in today's time are going to have a modern mindset.
Yeah.
In order to have that traditional mindset, you're going to have to be a very spiritual person that's geared towards the Almighty's ways. You have to know what the Almighty desires for a man and a woman when it's a marriage.
It's so bad, Elder, because today, when people go to these churches, these so-called spiritual institutions, they're not teaching on the importance of having a traditional mindset when married. I mean, they prohibit modern relationships, to me, because if so, we will see a different result. So who's teaching? Where are we getting where are we getting the spiritual food that we need to actually to create those type of situations?
Well, the only place we're going to get that spiritual food that we need to have good marriages is from the word of the Almighty, because he's the one who ordained marriage in the first place. But again, I can't say it enough that marriage has been so commercialized that in the day's time, you have a woman with a modern mindset, first of all, who wants the wedding, but don't want the marriage. Because, see, marriage is work. And a lot of times people want something without putting in effort.
There you go.
You see? And a lot of times in the day's times, it's so like when you have this clique of females or women and they have their friends, They see their friends getting married in some cases, so they want to be married too, but they don't really want that marital life because a lot of women will shame other women for doing things that a married woman should do. Did you hear what I said? Some women will shame other women for doing those things that a married woman should do. A woman should look well to her household. She should be one who's going to cook, one who's going to clean,
Put
one
her house
who's
first.
exactly one who's going to consider her husband. What would my husband like? Now, I'm going to say this. A lot of women might get mad if they heard a married woman asking her husband for permission to go do something. Let me give you an example. If a woman was talking to her husband and say her single friend heard her, but she say, sweetheart or honey or whatever she want to call him, what do you think? Is it okay if I go do this? If I go spend some time away with my friend for a few hours, or if how do you feel about me going to go do this here? There's a new gym I like to visit and it's on the other side of town or something. Or, if she said, sweetheart, how do you feel if I just spend, like the morning with my girlfriend?
Absolutely.
We want to go do some
Absolutely.
things. Is that okay with you? That single woman,
That's beautiful.
once she got away from, like if the man said, sure, yeah, baby, go ahead, have some fun. How dare that woman, once they get by themselves, that single woman who's not married, say, girl, what are you doing? Why are you asking for permission? Honey, I could never let a man tell me what I can and what I can't do. But that woman who's saying that don't realize those are some of the things that's keeping her from getting a husband.
There you go.
And a wise woman who is in a relationship should never get any advice from her single female friends. Because that single female friend is going to give her advice that's going to have that woman who's married end up being single.
There you go. Birds of a feather flock together.
But they don't get it.
Yeah.
I've heard so many women say out of their mouth, talking to other females, especially when you're around, so many. Girl, what? How you letting a man tell you what to do? He's telling you what you can wear and what you can't wear. Telling you what time you should be in.
Somebody said that to your wife?
To my wife?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Not the wife you got now, but the women you've been with.
No, I know women. I've been around for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, see, and here's the thing. You'll even get some women who's been married before that are now divorced, giving married women advice. So obviously,
Hopefully it's some good advice.
obviously it's not going to be good advice because the woman that's divorced, they're divorced for a reason. See, remember, marriage is work, right?
Yeah.
That's work on both sides. How many times you asked a woman to rate herself and she gave you anything less than an 8 or something like that? Check this out. If I had to rate myself, just being honest, and I think I'm a fairly good guy, you know, I ain't no wealthy man or whatnot, but I believe I'm a pretty damn good provider with the income that I do have and the resources that I do have.
Absolutely.
But if I had to rate myself, I would rate myself honestly a 5. A 5. Now somebody might say, well, a 5 is average. That's me rating myself as a man in marriage. Now, do I think I'm just an average man? Not necessarily, because I think that I have some things going on and a mentality that a lot don't have. But in today's market, so to speak, I say I'd rate myself about a 5.
That's honest. I appreciate the honesty.
You know, and if I had to rate my wife, I'm gonna say, because see, I understand. Well, I'm not gonna rate my wife on him, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'll be realistic because I'm not a 6-figure man at this point. You see what I'm saying? I don't
If you were a
have.
6-figure man, what would you rate yourself?
Well, see, society might try to rate me a little higher, but I would still rate myself as a 5.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that would be across the board because I don't see myself being, regardless what material things I might have or finances or anything, I can't see lifting myself up above somebody else because we all in the bucket together, to tell you the truth. You see what I'm saying? My wisdom might be a little different or maybe a lot different from some other people, but I can't judge what somebody else know or what they don't know. You know, it's, and again, that's just me,
Yeah.
you know, and that's me being honest with me. I
You gonna
don't
give yourself extra points for the things you're able to provide.
know because as a man, as a traditional man, I'm supposed to a married man.
Anyway.
I'm supposed to provide those things. So I can't give myself brownie points or extra points for doing the things that I'm supposed to do. But a woman, check this out, even a single woman, she'll rate herself a 10. You can get on social media all day long, everybody's a 10. Ain't no 5s, no 6s, no 7s, and all this sort of type of stuff. Everybody want to be somebody that they're actually not. You see, I just gave you a scenario a little while ago while we were talking, and I said, I could go to the store and buy a mannequin. Put everything that a lot, and this ain't no shame on nobody. Put everything and put the lashes on that mannequin. Put the wig on the mannequin, put some lipstick on that mannequin, put some makeup on that mannequin, sit that mannequin down and say, shh, be quiet. That mannequin ain't gonna do all of this right here. Ain't gonna do all of that. Now that might sound kind of harsh, but I say that because a lot of times a woman would just do a lot of this right here just to try to get her way or to be argumentative or something. And, which is actually going to lead me to my next question. But wait a minute, we didn't get that answer. That question was, what benefit is it for a man with traditional values to marry a woman with a modern mindset? What in that scenario, what benefit can you see for a man with traditional values, have that traditional mindset? In other words, you know how they say opposites attract? Not necessarily. In some cases, yes.
I mean, unless you're looking for some type of challenge, if you that foolish to where you're looking for some type of challenge, or you're looking for like some type of cultural exchange, or you doing an experiment, then I can see some value to it. But as far as my wife, I don't want to be on different pages with somebody I got to see every day. You know what I'm saying? That's your woman is supposed to your home. First of all, I would just start with your home. Your home is supposed to be your peace. A man is supposed to have his home and his house in order actually before he seeks a wife. So your home is in order first, your house is in order first, then you're supposed to place a woman within that house to maintain and make that house a home, so to speak. Now if you got a woman that is on a completely different page than you, then I would say you are a fool. Because you must like getting into arguments every day. You must like having a difference of opinion. You must got a lot of energy and a lot of strength. Can't have a job or nothing frustrating. Because no man in his right mind want to come home and you told her to make so and so. You know what I'm saying? Or you told her to do so and so, and she like, nah, I'm gonna do this.
But then she's not even a helpmate at that point.
That's what I'm saying.
See, if you ask her to do one thing or tell her you need something and she don't want to do it, then she's not playing the role of a helpmate. So that would make her not a good wife. That would make her a combative wife.
Yeah. I will say this too. Maybe with having a modern woman. No, I won't. I'll take it back. I think I said I was gonna say like okay, like say if a man dates a younger woman, right? And perhaps this younger woman is more modern, but she's seeking to be traditional through this man. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some of the benefits you may have there dealing with a traditional woman, maybe she can help you kind of navigate the system, right? Because I believe the system that we have now is more so catered to modern women and modern men. So perhaps a modern woman seeking to be traditional, she can add some type of value in terms of how to move within the system, um, how to be traditional in a modern world. I would say that, but she would have to have that element of she wants to become a traditional wife. You know, so that's the only benefit I could see.
It just seems to me that there would be a lot of head bumping
Yeah.
because, again, I believe that most people, whether you call yourself an Israelite or not, originally fundamentally have or had a modern mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And then we work towards being that traditional individual that we're supposed to be. But underneath it all, there lied a modern mindset because we came up in modern times. And unless from the womb we came up because our parents instilled in us who we were as Hebrew Israelites. Do you see what I'm saying? But going to school and having your regular friends, people who have modern mindsets that we hung around and still hang around to this very day with, those influences tend to rub off. And so in order for a person to maintain that traditional mindset and maintain those traditional values, he or she have to maintain their awareness of who they actually are and what the Most High Yah requires of them. Now, once we start to do that and once we really start to embrace it, and once we say we're walking with the Creator, we've been doing it for a certain length of time, then we can say we got a little something up under our belt at that particular time. But when a person generally gets married, and let's say we're brought up in this type of lifestyle, they're going to have a modern mindset. So we can't, in other words, we can't share a modern mindset and a traditional mindset because it's going to clash. In other words, I can't have it this way and have it this way. It's going to have to be one way or the other because when you have children, then how are you going to raise the children? Are the children going to be raised with traditional values? Or are they going to be raised with modern values?
That's the danger, man. That's the danger. That's what you saying. The question that you presenting, all Hebrew men have to ask themselves. Ask yourself whether whatever woman you have next to you, is this woman a modern woman or is she a traditional woman with traditional values? Because a lot of us make the mistakes in marrying and courting women that have no desire to even be a traditional woman. They may put on a front like they want to, but that's something that we all have to ask ourselves. So that's dangerous.
Then you can see the dilemma that we have in marriages today.
Right.
All over, all throughout Israel. We just like the people in this big old pot of gumbo.
Yeah.
We're just like that because unless we hold fast to the Almighty and His word, we're doomed. We're going to be having issues that we shouldn't have in marriages. So I would say that it's not necessarily a benefit at all. Matter of fact, I would say that it's a detriment. It's if a traditional man had a wife and she shared those same traditional values, then that woman would definitely be an asset. I would have to say anything else, whether it's a woman with a traditional mindset and a man with a modern mindset, it's going to be a liability because those two cannot they're going to bump heads. They're going to bump heads, and there's going to be situations that shouldn't be. And I know it's like we teach, it's a good thing to overlook a transgression. But when you have those constant bumping of the heads, then that means you have to have conversations about it. And then when you have those conversations going to bring about resentment from the party that's not traditional, whether it's the man or the woman. It's going to definitely be some resentment there. And it's going to be a problem. So I can't see it really being a benefit. So, and I brought that up so that people can really consider before they choose a mate, even when they're getting into a relationship, if they're looking for that relationship to resort to a marriage, try to find someone within the community of being as you are, did I say? I'm not saying a community like Ivandale, Lincoln Heights, Woodlawn, or something like that. I'm talking about that same community of those that have that traditional mindset. Anything else is going to be a problem, which actually takes me into my very next question. If you have a woman with children, how can I phrase this? Let's say a man who don't have any children. What's his benefit to marrying a woman with children? And that woman don't want any more children. So that question again is, if you already have a man, and you don't have no children, what benefit is it to this man, or is it a benefit to this man to marry a woman who has children? He don't have any, but she don't want any more.
Liability.
First of all, he's always going to come last in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to come last. She has children, and say if her children are, I don't know, let's say 6, 7, 8, 10, 14, whatever. They can even be older. It seems to me that man in today's time, he's going to always be last, even if he's a man with traditional values. And he's dating or seeing a woman, and he finds out that she's already got children, but she don't want any more children. How would that dynamic work? That means he don't get a seed.
Oh yeah, that's the main thing right there.
So would it be better for a man to, if he know that? So here's the thing. If you marry a woman, she already have children, and she's a modern woman, she's already going to have a mindset to where her children come first. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Her children come first. So that man will never come first in that relationship. And in a marriage union, you always put that other person first. Like in the case of, I would put my wife first. Hopefully my wife will put me first.
I believe that's the reason we had that statute and that law, that when a man divorces a woman and gives her the bill of divorcement, that she's to go out by herself. So she will have a better chance of actually finding a man that she can submit to and put him first. But women today, modern women, which is our enemy, really, when you really think about it, modern women are our enemies. Modern women, when they leave a relationship, the first thing that they do, if there's children involved, they take the children with them.
And that's because of the court system.
Yes, sir.
That's because the court system is designed for a woman. It's not designed for a man. And we gonna talk about some things on that too, because I have that on the list, but I just wanted to make sure that we covered that. And see, here's the thing. Women tend to overvalue themselves. And you might ask me, what do I mean by that? In today's time, you got all kinds of social media, right? You got Instagram, you got like I said, back in the day, before all this social media, a woman only had, just like a man only had, access to the people that was in their immediate or nearby communities or whatever. It wasn't like they could post some pictures and put them online and use some filters and get a bunch of likes and all this so they can get that dopamine hit, which would build their self-esteem by getting even more validation from multiple different guys, right?
Yeah.
You would have to get your validation from those that you would see
That's true.
in your community or nearby communities or something like that. So when you have a lot of people blowing somebody's inbox up on social media, a woman would tend to think that she's valued more because more men are hitting on her.
What you think about that?
Well, why is she still single?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Why is she still single? There's a reason that some women get swooped up real quick and married. And there's a reason you see others over a period of time that are not married, haven't been proposed to. They haven't been involved in some relationships along the way, but haven't been proposed to. There's a reason. I might save that one for a different time because that gets real deep right there. But see, again, when I talk about sometimes women tend to overvalue themselves. Now, I know a lot of women gonna get mad because today's program, we talking about particular things. You know, generally I like to get it with men and women, but today, because we're talking about marriage, and a woman has to be marriage material in order for a man to marry her. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, one might say, well, what's marriage material? Well, there's a lot of women who've been in relationships with men, right? They're still never been proposed to, never been married. There's a reason for that. Again, when I say women tend to overvalue themselves, if they were valuable to that man in the way of marriage, then most likely somebody would have proposed to them, right? Matter of fact, they would probably be married, right? Because a woman's beauty and her value, her value would come from, can we keep it real?
Go ahead.
All right.
Absolutely.
Ideally, a woman should have been what before she got married?
Virgin.
A virgin, right? So we don't have a whole lot of virgins around right now, but we have a whole lot of women who've been in several different relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a woman's been in several different relationships and nobody has asked that particular woman to marry her, then that woman, if we're going to keep it honest, there's got to be some qualities that she don't possess for a man to say, "Ooh, I got to wife her up real quick." Because again, women tend to rate themselves, but if they ask the man honestly, like one of their exes, to rate them, then it's not necessarily going to be the same way that a woman will have rated herself. Because if she was rated that she should be married, then one of those guys, if in fact he had the right motive and if he was looking for a wife, would have already married her. Then you have some that get married and the marriage don't last. There's a reason for that. See, when we talked about last podcast, I believe, that you want your woman to be cooperative, meaning non-combative, ready to receive instructions. And we also talked about a lot of men were not taught how to be husbands, right? And a lot of women were not taught how to be wives. Matter of fact, let's say most men and most women have not been taught how to be a husband or a wife. And a lot of them haven't actually seen successful marriages between a husband and a wife.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So, and we also talked about how we grew up seeing all these different abnormalities and those things we normalize. So how can I normalize something that's abnormal and try to take that into a relationship, hoping that relationship turns into a marriage and then that marriage be successful? Because a lot of the behaviors that we came up with, that we saw, were toxic behaviors.
Mm.
They weren't good. They weren't fit for marriages.
Mm.
So that's the reason a lot of people today who's been in several different relationships aren't married. Because we have to change our ways.
Yeah.
We have to be right. If we're not right, how can we first of all put us, and this is for men and women, how can we put ourselves in a position to want to be married? So this ain't about just the women. A lot of guys have a toxic type mentality because that's what we grew up with. Just imagine from the time you were a youth, right? Up until where you're in your 20s, say like your early 20s or whatnot. If we shared those same behaviors and mannerisms that were not good, should I say.
Mm-hmm.
And we know they're not, see, a lot of times we don't know that they're not good.
That's true.
We don't know that they're not good because we've normalized it. But when things go to falling apart and people say they're going to work on themselves, do they really examine and see, well, what am I doing? What did I bring to the table, so to speak? How was my behavior? How did my actions affect this marriage? And it would have to be on both parties.
Yeah.
That woman would have to examine herself, and that man would have to examine himself and be honest.
Be honest.
But see, here's the thing. A lot of times, again, people want to escape accountability. A lot of times people can't see what their own flaws are because they're going to think that they have normal behavior. If they haven't acknowledged that those behaviors that we actually do have been abnormal behaviors. They haven't been productive behaviors. Am I making sense?
Oh yeah, you're making a lot of sense.
But see, a lot of times people don't really search their inward part. They don't really search out something. Like I say, it's supposed to be a good thing. You see the air fingers there. It's supposed to be a good thing when a person acts like the environment that they come from. But not really.
Yeah. A lot of us are products of our environment.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But we're supposed to be products of the Most High. We become products of an environment. So our mentality is not always right. But in most cases, it's completely backwards. So how can we be successful like that?
Who would you say is the number one influence of our environments? If we're coming from environments that are not producing this, who's influencing these environments?
Oh, that's a good question. The people that raised us, the people who run our schools, the people that's in the community, because likewise, we like to try to be like the people who came before us.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? But the people who came before us came up with those same type situations. And unless a person really check themselves, what I like to call self-evaluation. But you gotta examine yourself against something that you would deem to be normal. But first, you have to deem what is normal and what's abnormal. And the only way you're going to really find that out is by the word of the Almighty. See, here's the thing. And this is not supposed to be a Bible class or anything, but unless we compare ourselves to the way we're supposed to be based on the word of the Almighty, we're going to be like everybody else because we all come up the same way.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
We all pretty much get the same type of instruction. There's a separation between church and state. There used to be a time when you could learn things in school, but that's been taken out of the school. Again, we see here, even on the dollar bill, in God we trust. But you can't talk about it. You can't talk about what his expectations are. So if he ordained marriage, how are we going to have successful marriages if we don't know what he requires?
I think a lot of people are playing a power game. And the reason I say that is because we would rather be lied to than told the truth. I believe the reason why there is a separation of church and state and that we can't talk about God, we can't talk about the word of God, right? And you got people that don't believe it's the word of God,
Mhm.
and I find that very hypocritical because, the first thing that people do when there's something tragic that happens, they go and pray, or a tornado, or a hurricane, or the forces of nature. When the forces of nature are upon us, then we all of a sudden we're in tune with God, So I see through the lies and the facade that people put up, but I believe that everybody they want to be seen as somebody, and I think that's the problem. Like we have an issue with being meek and humble, because if we were meek and humble, we wouldn't worry about necessarily being looked up to, right? The Almighty is really the only person that we're supposed to look up to, because we all can make mistakes. But um, you said that in order for us to find what's right, what's normal, and what's abnormal is by looking at the word of the Most High, and I completely agree with that. It's just that some people they're afraid to have that conversation because they know they'll be condemned.
Correction is grievous
Yeah.
to those that forsake the way.
Period.
Correction is grievous to somebody who's lived a certain way for a certain amount of time. And people be like, how dare you tell me what's right and what's wrong? This is my life. Well, see, here's the thing. When two lives are coming together and under one union, you don't want to have conflict. You don't want to have conflict in the way you're going to run your house. You don't want to have conflict in the way that you're going to raise your children. You don't want to have conflict in any of that. You need someone who's going to be agreeable with you based on the word of the Almighty. Because again, he's the one who ordained marriage. He's the one who gave us the foundation for what a marriage is. And he said he's that third cord there, period. See, there's a lot of benefits when we do things the right way, but we don't get any benefits when we do it the wrong way. And a lot of times we just don't understand that people tend to get into a relationship, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend type relationship, or whether it's a marriage, and then they say, well, we going to figure out how we going to do this. we going to figure out how we going to do this. But don't have no plan, and the plan should come from the Creator. So in a marriage, there's someone who's supposed to be submissive, right? Someone in the marriage that the Almighty speaks of, someone is supposed to be submissive. Is the man supposed to be submissive to his wife? In other words, he's the one who's supposed to be willing to receive instructions. Is he, in fact, the helpmate? See, we got to have this. We have to, if we want to be successful in our relationships, first of all, we got to know what we're doing, because we want the blessings to come into that household, into that marriage. We got to know what we're doing. If we don't know what we're doing, we talked about just yesterday, can two walk together, at least they be agreed. If you have even a husband and a wife, and they're not agreeing with one another, how they going to walk together in righteousness? How they going to perform together? And if we're walking, in fact, with the Creator, so you got the man and the woman who's supposed to walk as one. We got to walk with the Creator still. But how can we walk with the Creator if we're not agreeing with the Creator, the one who ordained marriage? So again, if the Most High, the Creator of heaven and earth, if he told us how to walk in that marriage, right? But we can't come together, those two that are married, so that we can walk together, how in fact can we walk with him? How are we going to get those blessings? And that's the reason I say, when you have someone with a traditional mindset, and then the other person has a modern mindset, it's going to be a lot of head bumping. It's not necessarily going to be an ideal type situation.
Do you think, do you feel that women have become modern because somewhere along the line, men have failed to lead them properly?
No, I do believe.
I do believe that most men and most women are modern.
Mm-hmm.
You have to step out. You got to get outside the box in order to have that traditional mindset. I believe that most of us have a modern mindset, including men and women. You have to make a decision these days to be a traditional man, because other than having like maybe your great grandma and her husband, they may have been traditional. But today, grandmothers are, you be 25, 30 years old and be a grandma. So let's say great grandma.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Her and her husband most likely may have been traditional. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But now most people are going to have a modern mindset. So you're going to be sort of like a unicorn if you have a traditional mindset, but then you got all these women that's on social media talking about they want a traditional man. And the reason I'm saying they want a traditional man is because they want a man who's going to be a provider and protector. And they'll tell you that. But what is that man getting in return for his provisions and for his protection? He shouldn't be trying to get a bunch of this back. He shouldn't be trying to get a bunch of arguments. That's not what he's looking for. He shouldn't be looking for someone who's going to give him a lot of resistance. He shouldn't be wanting somebody who's going to be extremely combative. You see, because that's going to be a detriment. A man, when he gets married, he wants to have an asset, not a liability. Not a liability. So again, we talked about in past podcasts how men, for the most part, have not been taught or raised to be husbands. And women, in fact, have not been taught or have been raised to be wives. So the work has to be put in on both parties in order to have a marriage that will be successful. Now, it can be successful. They can be very successful. But you have to have both parties willing to put in the work.
Totally agree. I wanted to ask one more question. What is the number one quality you feel like a man looks for? And this is for those that are traditional. And these are for those that are modern. Excuse me.
Okay.
Modern women and modern men seeking to become husbands and wives, so on and so forth. What is the number one quality a traditional man looks for before he says, I want to marry this woman? What do you think the number one quality is?
There's definitely going to be more than one quality.
Or you can give me a few.
Okay, because first of all, you're going to want a woman who is going to allow, and I have to use the word allow that man to lead in the way of being a husband.
You think that's the number one quality?
Right, because see, if she's not cooperative, which is going to be number two, if she's not going to be cooperative with the way he's trying to do things, now we're saying a good man.
Exactly.
I ain't just talking about any man, a good man, right?
Exactly.
She's going to need to not interfere with him leading that household. You see what I'm saying? So in order for her not to do that, that means she has to be cooperative. You see what I'm saying?
In her place.
In her place. She's going to have to know her lane, because there are roles to play in a marriage. And again, that man's role is, who's going to be the husband, he's going to be the protector. He's going to be the provider. Do you see what I'm saying? So in order for him to be able to do that, because he's not going to want to be with somebody who's completely combative and argumentative, because that's just not going to work. He's going to need her to be cooperative and allow, notice I use the word allow again, allow him to lead. In other words, she needs to fall back and do what she needs to do.
Right.
Allow him to do what he needs to do. And he's most definitely going to give her space to do what she needs to do.
Absolutely.
Because there are roles, there are duties for the man and duties for the woman. Now, his role again is provide, protector, and then issue the duty of marriage, which is that intimate part. You see what hers is to be that helpmate. But again, we just talked about she's going to have to be able to receive instruction. He's going to have to teach her, if you will. what he needs from her. And if she's a wise woman, she's going to be cooperative and do those things, because even though his role may carry a bigger burden, they both have roles, and her role is equally as important. You see what I'm saying? His role may take up more financial responsibility, going to take up more resources. And then a man who's married most likely going to be willing to put his life on the line to make sure she's protected, even keeping her protected from him. You see what I'm saying? Because that woman needs to feel comfortable even with her husband.
Absolutely.
So she should not have any fear of him doing her any harm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's really deep. So when people, that's why I'm saying we really have to make sure that we're vetting the individual. The woman needs to make sure that the man that asks her to be married to him, she needs to make sure that she vets him good.
That's true.
He needs to make sure that he vets her good.
That's true.
Because once you get married, the Almighty said, I don't want to hear it was a mistake.
He holding us
He holding us accountable. He said, I destroy the works of your hands. And the works of your hands could be anything. But now he does give a woman a way out, and he gives a man a way out. But it ain't a bunch of different ways. Mm-hmm. See, if a man isn't holding up to his responsibility, then she was able to go to the elders, and then she could get a bill of divorcement. But if she found no favor in his eyes, he could get her bill of divorcement because of that uncleanliness.
Yeah, man, that's deep.
And one man's uncleanliness might not be another man's uncleanliness.
That's very true. That's very true.
You see, so we just have to be mindful that when you're looking for someone, again, you want a woman who's going to allow you to lead. You want a woman who's going to be cooperative. You want a woman who's going to be submissive. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you had, and I would have to put it this way today, and this is not the word of the Almighty, because ideally a woman would have been a virgin, but a low body count would be nice. If no body count, that would be nice. And I say that because if she was a virgin, it wouldn't be very difficult for her to pair bond with someone.
Exactly. I would say even if a woman is not a virgin, before she starts seeking that man, to have been celibate for a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. Because you can have a low body count and still be having sex.
But see, also,
You get what I'm saying with that though?
Oh yeah. You know
what I mean?
But also we have to understand this, and I don't think some people even consider this. The more men that a woman has been with, she has to understand she's taking on different DNAs.
Oh yeah.
Because see, he's depositing.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So she's taking on different DNA. So say if a woman, for example, has been with this one guy, then she has the DNA of that one guy. But say there's multiple over a period of time. Then she has different DNAs.
Spirits.
You see what I'm saying? And we're going to call it what it is. But a lot of times people don't consider those things because we're not a people who get into those deep conversations, especially when we're entertained by someone and we want to get to know them better. Because nowadays in this modern time, people say, well, that ain't none of your business because that was before you. Well, it can have a drastic effect on anybody's relationship.
That's true.
Because again, when you have some people who act like they're a bunch of different people sometimes, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why the Almighty said if a man gave a woman a bill of divorcement, then she could leave his house, she could go become another man's wife. But if that man died or didn't find any favor, that first man couldn't take that woman back. Yeah. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, he said it was an abomination.
He said that land would have been greatly polluted. So a lot of times, again, people just don't get into those serious conversations because Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sometimes people want to keep their past hidden
Hidden. Yeah.
because a lot of times there are things that we should be ashamed
Shameful.
of. Yeah. And so you're on the same page with that. There are some things that we should, in fact, be ashamed of. But in today's time, in this modern society, less is more. So you wear less clothes, ladies, and you don't be ashamed. Well, I wouldn't. Would you want your wife walking around in some hoochie shorts? I wouldn't want mine walking around in some hoochie shorts. And just sometimes women need to understand. Sure, you should be able to dress and feel comfortable in the way you dress, but a lot of times you don't understand the way you dress can attract someone that you don't want. That's just like let's say if a guy who got a bunch of money, he go out and buy a nice Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something, right? He know that particular type of car is going to attract a particular type of person. You see what I'm saying? And so just like when they do these gold digger pranks, right? They know if a guy, he step out, he got nice chains on, dressed nice, get out of a nice car. He knows he's going to attract certain people. So women should understand if she dresses a certain type of way, she's also going to attract certain type of people, whether she have a ring on her finger or not. We just got to be realistic with it. So when they talk about a man shouldn't be able to tell, like her man, if a woman is dating someone and there's a prospect for marriage there, right? Or even if she's married. Surely I wouldn't want my wife to go out the house looking like a hoochie. I wouldn't want my wife walking out looking like she's a 304. I wouldn't want that. I don't think a man in his right mind will want that because, see, here's the thing. You and I, we both know the nature of men.
Oh, yeah.
You see. And when you're with someone long enough, you also know the nature of the opposite sex. But you have to have time and experience in to learn those things. Got another question so we can move along with this here. Matter of fact, let me make a statement. Did you know that in a lot of cases, a woman will marry, but not marry for love, and she'll feel like she's settling, but she'll marry someone for whether it be just his securities, which would be that man's resources, or she'll marry for stature, social status, but it might not be the person that she actually wanted.
Oh, yeah.
But it was somebody that she felt that could take care of her to make sure that she was okay. That's to lighten her burden, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, if you're paying the mortgage, or if you're taking care of a lot of different responsibilities, that means you don't have to, and that's just the fact. And that's everywhere. But see, here's the thing: with a traditional man, if he's a traditional man, he don't have a problem with paying those bills himself anyway, because that's who he is.
Oh, yeah.
You see,
He gonna handle his response. He gonna play
there
his
you
role.
go.
He
And
gonna always play his role.
okay, and in traditional times, see, here's the thing: a lot of these women, they talk about going 50-50. Like she paid 50% and he paid 50% of the bills.
Yeah.
A lot of times now, you know, just in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, they want their bills paid.
Right.
They want their bills paid by the man.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you ask, what are you bringing to the table? And that's a question that they actually hate. they actually hate that. What are you bringing to the table? Because, matter of fact, let me ask you a question here. Now think about this in the context of our conversation so far.
Okay.
In a relationship, in seeking a relationship. So when you first get with somebody, are women the prize? I'll give you a little time to think on that before you. Are women?
Yeah, a woman that's a virgin and that's virtuous.
That was the number one answer right there. So I'm clapping on that. You know that. Look at. I got you. That's when she's going to be a prize.
Oh, yeah, that's when you gotta
You
pay.
understand?
You gotta pay for the dowry. That's the prize.
That's when she's going to be a prize,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's a very rare thing these days. Do you understand?
Very rare.
But outside of that,
If a woman is marrying, a woman's not gonna marry somebody in most cases who's at her level. Not in today's time, not in these modern times that we're in. Now, I'm not saying that don't happen. I'm saying in most cases, a woman is going to or desires to marry up.
Oh, yeah. I don't
You
blame
see
him.
what I'm saying?
I don't blame him.
Because
Yeah.
and they should
Yeah.
for financial security. Because
Right.
again, a man should be able to provide.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's in a woman's nature to marry up. So a man, like I said, a man he could go marry a maitre d at some place, or a waitress at this place or at that place, and that's not going to be bad for him.
Right.
But a woman, if she's up here, she's not going to be trying to go marry a man who works at Wendy's or McDonald's or one of these places. That's going to be totally different, because she wants somebody who's in a better position than she is, which is it should be the case, right? But when it comes to, is the woman the prize? How is the woman going to be the prize in that relationship? In fact, if she's looking for someone who's going to be able to provide for her better than she can provide for herself, and she's not a virgin, how is she the prize?
That's fairy tale. Yeah, that's fairy tale.
so
That's fairy tale, and that's manipulation. That's manipulation at its finest.
again, that's when you have people who tend to value themselves higher than when we were talking about earlier, when I was talking how some women tend to overvalue themselves. Like I said, I rated myself a 5. Now, and I think that's good. Because it's
That's
better.
average. That's
Well,
average, man.
I would say that's in the area of someone that's average, and I say that because regardless of me having certain things together, there's still a lot that I need to get together, and that's going to be a life journey. You see what I'm saying? So I don't say I'm at the bottom of the barrel, but I'm not at the top of the barrel, not at least in my eyes anyway.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I would consider myself to be a well-rounded individual, but I'm not going to say that I'm going to lift myself up. If I'm going to be lifted, let the Almighty lift me. I'm happy when I first caught myself evaluate myself. I said I'm not going to be up here. Regardless, I'm not going to do that. I don't even think like that. You see what I'm saying? So I figured, let me go halfway, because I know I'm not so low, but I'm not so high. So boom, I'll settle for that 5 and feel good about it.
Praise God.
And I'll take that 5 gladly. I'll give myself a 5 and feel really, really good about that 5, because at least I know I ain't BSing myself. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think I do bad. I'm constantly handling my affairs, and I know that the Almighty been blessing me along the way.
Praise God.
So here's
It's a scripture that say, "Let another man lips praise thee, and not thy own."
there you go.
Man.
There you go. And along with that question, when I asked a woman the prize, if so, then how is she the prize? And the first thing that came out your mouth is what I had written down over here, and you didn't see it.
And I'm gonna
About
go
her being
even
a
beyond
virgin.
that, because I'm gonna excuse. We are, unfortunately, we are where we at. We know we don't have a lot of virgins today, so I'm gonna even go extra mile and say, if she's not a virgin, she got to be certified virtuous, certified, or certified feminine at the lowest standard.
Mm-hmm.
Certified, she got to be my wife. She has to master her femininity.
Well, I think a lot of times that we we need to go back to the drawing board on self.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
men
problem.
and women.
That's men
We
and
need to
women.
go back to the drawing board on self and put ourselves, seriously, put ourselves under the microscope and see how we present ourselves to the world. See how we present ourselves to the opposite sex, in reality. But a lot of times people don't want to do that. Because again, like I stated, sometimes we might know that we need to make changes, but some people don't even know how to go about starting to make those changes.
Yeah.
And that can be a problem.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, males and females, for the most part, have made some serious errors in their life and may not feel good about it, but we still tend to project certain things onto others.
That's true.
Because of our own insecurity, so to speak.
And that's not fair. The Almighty gonna judge people for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong.
Mm-hmm. So let me say something about relationships when it comes to a marriage. A lot of times in marriages, and you know how sometimes people have been married for some years and it seems like they need a reboot or whatnot. And it seems like, and I've talked to guys who are married, and they've shared with me that after they've been married for a while, especially after the first child, it might have been where they were having intimacy often, but then that slowed down to where it seemed like men were pretty much begging their women for that sexual intimacy. And when a woman comes up with this excuse or that excuse, I got a headache, I don't feel well, all these different excuses, they don't realize what you're doing. And I'm saying this because, again, I said most of us have a modern mindset. They don't realize when they're doing that, they're sending messages to this man to go get a side chick. Now, I'm not condoning that, but what one woman won't do, that there's always someone else who will. Now, I'm not saying adopt that mindset, but people, and when we're in relationships, we have to consider all these things. And a lot of times people don't know they're tearing their own situation down. And a lot of times, ladies, and if someone is listening or come back and view this, I'm sure if someone's honest with themselves, they'll say after a certain amount of time, they get bored with that man. They get bored with that man. And so therefore, if they're bored with him, be it the same thing, the same way or whatever, or either they're upset with them for whatever reason, and you just don't want to do anything. Well, again, there is a duty of marriage from the man. And also that woman has a duty, and the Almighty was very specific. We talk about it all the time when he was talking to her in the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, the 16th verse, which was telling that wife, not a girlfriend, was telling that wife what? That her desire should be, and that's a sexual desire, should be to her husband, and he should do what?
Rule over.
He should rule over her. Now, let me say this right now. Now, I just said that a lot of times a woman get bored. Now, this is not going to be in all cases, but I want to give some people something to think about right here. And some women, when they come across this feed and they see this, they're going to know that it's true if we're honest with ourselves. And see, the thing is, a lot of times men and women have a problem being honest with themselves. I'll tell any man, when a woman leaves that man emotionally, she's already gone. She just haven't left the relationship yet. Now, I also asked another question. Who cheats more in a marriage, men or women? See, and here's the thing. It shouldn't be any of that, but let's talk about that for a minute, because I'm gonna state some facts down, and the people who might be in these situations, they'll know it. When a man cheats, when he steps out, that's physical. That's physical. because men again are visual, and that's a physical thing. Now, a woman might be cheating, but she might be not cheating in the physical way, right? She's cheating in an emotional way. In other words, she might be spending some time with somebody that you don't know about, even by way of texting, phone calls, or whatnot. Because a lot of times before a woman steps out and be physical with a person, she'll be giving them some of that emotional time that should be spent with her husband. She might be talking to this guy or this other individual about things that are personal between you and her. You see what I'm saying? And she might even be comparing this other person to her husband. Right? And the husband might not measure up because the person that she's talking to might have a better situation than her husband. So she's spending more emotional time with that individual. So it's actually worse. And I'm gonna say this right here. And a lot of people are not going to get it, especially those that have a modern mindset. When a woman is emotionally involved with another man, that's worse. Now, some people gonna get upset with what I'm saying here. Is worse than when a man, her husband, is physically intimate with another woman. Now, there's some ties to that. Let me explain. When you have a woman, a wife, right, and say she's spending time, again, whether it's talking or texting, and a lot of times those emotional relationships, they spend a lot of time together, whether it's talking by way of the telephone, whether it's texting. It could even be some time when they're seeing one another on a one-on-one type basis, right? Again, that's time that should be with that husband. But when she's talking to him about issues, their own personal issues, I see that as a violation. When a woman is talking to another man, now keep in mind that she's really feeling this other man. That's why she's so comfortable talking to him about those other issues concerning, because the husband don't know about it. You see what I'm saying? It's a secret, right?
Hallelujah.
What we got? Okay. So by way of texting, phone calls, spending personal time, the relationship, it turns out to be a secret because you don't know about it. And then you don't know what the conversations are coming up, and do you measure up with this other guy? And a lot of times a woman might resent you even more. She'll resent her husband even more because that husband don't measure up to this other guy because he's in a better situation, so to speak. You know, she might be guarding her phone calls, deleting messages, things like that. So that's a bad, cause see, and I'm saying this because I know these things go on.
Oh yeah.
These things goes on.
Oh yeah.
And it can be on both sides. A man could be doing these very things, but usually when a man is stepping out, when a man is cheating, and I don't condone that either, it's a physical thing. It's a physical thing. But when a man has a woman's mind mentally, he has her more. Because sometimes a woman might be physical with her husband, but her body's there, but she's not mentally. If her mind is, like that song said, her mind is on the other side of town. That's deep. I know I'm getting off into some things right here, but I just want us to think about all these different type of things that we discuss on this podcast when an individual's actually looking for someone that they can spend their entirety with, when they're looking for a long-lasting relationship. Because like I say, I wholeheartedly believe that men do love hard and harder than women. Not that women don't love hard, but I think it's much easier for a woman to get over a relationship than it is for a man, especially when it's a marriage, you see. One thing that women need to know is men don't require a lot. Again, men are very simple. So with your husband, there's at least 3/4 main things that a woman need to keep in mind, and she'll keep that man happy, right? And those things are feeding, give him good sex, show him respect and appreciation. I guarantee you, if you do those things, plus you're submissive, oh man, I'm sure he'll give you everything he can. See, when a woman is just being in her lane, just doing those things she should be doing as a wife, because a good wife is going to be submissive. Right? A good wife is definitely going to be submissive to her husband. A good wife is going to respect her husband. A good wife ain't going to withhold sex from her husband. Just feed him. That's it.
Yeah.
Men are simple.
Yeah.
That's it. And be his peace. When he come in, had a hard day or whatever, help rebuild him so he can go back out and fight some more, so he can do what he need to do, so he can keep providing for that also.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's other forces that are at play a lot of times when people can't do their job, whether it be man or woman, and I think that's really the key to figure out why are these things occurring. A lot of times we like to brush these things off and not have these conversations, but in order for us to be, because I went through all the things you talk about, you know what I'm saying? And I've been on both sides.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that I found out just from experience is that, it's a two-way street when certain things occur at times. Regardless, as a man, and I've always expressed this in my relationships, I always play my role. I'm always play my role. But if there's an issue and I feel like we can't get past this issue, that's a problem. That's a problem. We need to figure out what's going on that's causing these inconsistencies in our relationship. And usually what I found is it's usually got something to do with communication.
Mm-hmm.
Something in our communication has been broken down, whether it's my style, the way I choose to communicate things, or perhaps the woman, a lot of times, they hold things back, depending on the type of man they with. And when they go in front of another man, perhaps they may feel comfortable sharing certain things. And the Almighty tells us not to deal deceitfully with one another. That's one of the things I despise, is deceit. And a lot of times, and like I said, speaking from experiences, there's deceit at play. And that causes a communication breakdown. You have to be 100% honest about the way you feel. And when a partner is expressing the way that they feel, you can't just brush it off, because this is sincerely how they feel. Like, I've been in a situation where an argument may have occurred, and I'll say how I feel about the situation, and immediately the person I'm dealing with there brush right past it just so they can go out the way to show me how they felt. And I'm like, hold on, let's take it back for a second. Did you just catch what I threw at you though? You know what I'm saying? So I just believe that, like, a lot of times these things are a two-way street, and I don't believe it's no problem that can't be solved, honestly. If the Almighty is involved and these laws are involved, I don't think it's a problem that we can't solve unless the Almighty says it's unsolvable. Then that's when you move forward. But in many cases, the issues that we have in marriage and relationships can be hashed out if we just come humble, if we humble ourselves. And if you can't do that, then
Well,
good luck.
it's all about having that emotional maturity.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of
Emotional
cases,
maturity,
we're dealing with people who are emotionally immature. And an emotionally immature individual is going to run from those tough conversations because an emotional immature person is going to argue all the time. They're going to want to argue, and it's a waste. It's not about winning an argument. It should always be about coming up with some resolve. How do we resolve the issue? But like I keep saying, I can't say it enough. We have to learn how to communicate. And we have to learn how to listen. And again, those are two totally different things. A lot of times when people don't want to hear a particular thing, they present an argument. You may be trying to communicate something that has to be communicated so that you can come to a resolve, but the other person is going to want to argue. Because see, a lot of times we as people don't want to accept accountability. If we're at fault, we don't want to accept any fault. But see, it can't be that way. A person have to want to be right, period. If I'm not right with me, how can I be right with you? And if you're not right with you, how are you going to be right with me? So we have to work together. That's again, it's so imperative that we vet the individual thoroughly, because in the beginning, you will be most likely meeting a representative. It's not going to, because the person's going to be on their best behavior. Now, it's a beautiful thing when a person is on their best behavior, but that's actually who they are.
Right.
I know who I am, just like the Almighty knows who I am. And I will never say that I'm a bad guy because I know I'm not. Do I know everything? Absolutely not. I absolutely don't know everything. Have I made mistakes? I'm sure I've made mistakes. Do I want to be the best version of me? And am I putting in effort? Absolutely. Do I do it continually? Absolutely. Do I still have a long way to go? As long as I'm living. But with those type of efforts, if I could get that same thing back from the next person, if this person can get that same thing back from the next person, if you can get that same thing back from the next person, their relationship should be that complicated. Because again, people should be able to talk about every type of situation necessary in order to get that resolved.
Emotional immaturity.
You have, exactly. That's a thing that we went over. We went over not too long ago the difference between a person that's emotionally immature versus a person that's emotionally mature. Then we also talked about some things that we should have learned as we were maturing ourselves, period. And the bottom line is a lot of people didn't learn certain things because, again, we keep talking about those abnormalities that people want to normalize that messes up a lot of relationships. See, we got to go back to the fundamentals and see where we messed up. We learned things backwards. So now we got to unlearn those same things. And then we got to replace those things that we got to unlearn, replace them with some good things that's going to be a benefit and not to our detriment.
Absolutely.
Now, I know it might sound complicated, but it's really not that complicated. If we want to have good, productive, long-lasting relationships, then we can't be afraid to put the work in. And a lot of times people just don't want to change. A lot of times people are comfortable with who they are. A lot of times people gonna say when a relationship failed, it was the other person's fault. You know, that's a common thing in most cases. Get on social media any day, and I tell you what, you're gonna hear damn near every woman when they talk about how their relationship ends. There's gonna be an exception because some women will get up and say, well, they did this or they cheated or they did something. But in the vast majority of cases, I guarantee you, anybody who can hear my voice, get even out there on social media, and I guarantee you, the vast majority, and I do mean the vast majority of women that are going to be interviewed is going to say one particular thing. They're going to say it was the guy's fault that the relationship didn't work. Ain't that nothing? I can say that with certainty. That damn near 100%, it's going to be 90-something% of the people, a high 90-something percentage rate, where they're all going to say, all these females going to say it was the guy's fault.
Yeah, because women especially right now, are not in a position to where they have to accept accountability. And that's the reason why.
And it's sad. It's sad. And so again, we got to be very, very careful when it comes to trying to find a mate, especially for those that are looking to be married. I have to say this. If you are a woman and you're looking to be married, please don't get your advice from your single female friend or friends. Please don't do that, because that's what they're not married. Go to somebody who's tried and tested, like I said before, who's been married for quite some time. And they'll let you know that marriage is, hell, I'll let you know marriage is work.
Oh yeah.
I've been married a few times. I don't want to just be out there like that. You see, so, and the bottom line is, I know what's good in a marriage, and I personally know what's not good in a marriage.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm more than willing to speak with anybody on that particular topic. I don't claim to be an expert, but I definitely know what I know. And like I say, I've been dealing with females since I was about 15, 16 years old, and I'll be 66 in July.
Praise the Most High.
So,
Yeah.
and it's a blessing.
You got anything else you want to cover? I want to get to some of these comments up here.
Let's get some of these comments here. Matter of fact, if somebody got some questions, we got time to type them in.
Okay. Michael Jackson, me, I guess it's Michael Jackson from Facebook. It says, "Damn, bro, see how it's hard for you to find one wife happy, but you want multiple wives. LOL." I don't know about
Who want multiple wives?
I don't know where that came from.
Because see, here, my thing is, Michael, if you're listening, dealing with one woman is plenty. Plenty. Even if she's a good woman, that's plenty, because you don't want to spread yourself thin. That's plenty. One good woman and one good man, that's a good recipe.
My son had been struggling with both ADHD and ADD for years. It's been hell, but I got introduced to microdosing, and he got off all of his Adderalls and SNRIs by slowly tapering. He doesn't need the meds anymore. It's truly amazing. Figs spores on Instagram saved his life. They're available worldwide, and they ship discreetly too.
Hallelujah.
And then, of course, we got a shalom from the Queen, Chanel Shalom. Thank you for tapping in. Hallelujah. That's all we got right now.
That's all we got?
Yeah.
Well, y'all let me know. Give me some kind of feedback if you can type in some and say if I was making sense to you. Because I don't just like to flap my gums and just utter foolishness out. I like to talk about things that at least older people are going to recognize as the truth. And wiser people are going to recognize as the truth. Again, because my goal is to put out information that's going to be a benefit, that's going to actually help relationships and not tear them down.
All praises. You got anything else you wanted to cover in there?
No, I think we covered a lot for today. Matter of fact, I think we got in a lot more than what I actually anticipated getting done.
So we doing good on time. Praise the Most High.
How long we been going so far?
Shoot. An hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Yeah. Pretty good timing. How can someone know if they are at fault for a breakup?
Well, here's a good way. Whether you're the man or whether you're the woman, go back if you get the opportunity and talk to that individual, even though you're not in a relationship, and ask them to be honest with you and just be straight. And how were you in that relationship with that individual? Listen to their perspective. And see, when I was saying earlier, women tend to rate themselves very high, like all of them, I'm a 10, I'm a 10, I'm a 10, I'm a 10, I'm a queen, all this old type of stuff. Well, ask the person that you were in a relationship with, because remember, the goal of relationships should be leading to a marriage. Actually, that should be the goal. So if a lot of people have been in a lot of relationships, but they call themselves a 10 and they haven't ever even been proposed to, let alone married, there have to be a reason why that hasn't taken place. Like I say, some guys, might think that they were better than what they were. Some women, but it's definitely, a man knows what he's got to deal with. And ladies, please remember this. You don't have any options if no other man has asked you to actually marry them. So many women have said that they have options. Now, you might have options as to who you might lay with, but please be mindful that men decide who gets married. You see, and that's just a fact. So we would all do ourselves a huge favor just to be the best version of ourselves. And the only way to make that happen is to constantly do work on self. If you're in a relationship and you're putting in work and the other person isn't putting in work, then make note of that. Make note of that. He or she might not like you as much as you like them. Now, that's an ugly truth, right? Because if you're with somebody and you desire to really be with them, if you know you can be improved, then we shouldn't hesitate to make those improvements. We shouldn't hesitate, because then we can present a better version of self and even feel better about self.
Praise y'all. Thank you for that question. Are there any last questions before we end this particular podcast until next week?
What I would like to say while we're waiting to see if there's any other questions here is please share these podcasts with people. I think today was number 11 or so?
That's correct.
Today was number 11. Share them, because somebody, I'm sure, will value the information that we're putting out here. Again, this is not about shaming anything. It's about exposing truth. It's about exposing truth that will actually help build better relationships that will lead to a marriage. I would like to think that most people would rather grow old with someone, to have a helpmate there, to have a companion there, instead of a bunch of cats or a pet. Now, if that's the route a person want to go, they say, I'd rather just have a pet or something. But I can share with you that a lot of men are refraining from relationships because they're saying that it's too much they have to deal with. And like I say, I've been married more than one time, so I completely understand. And that's the reason I'm passionate about this situation. The situation of marriage, should I say. I'm very passionate about it. I believe that if people really work at it because they, in fact, really want to be a husband or a wife, then they should be willing to put in the work so they can be the best version of themselves. Don't send a representative. We can't be fake going into a relationship. And then have those serious conversations. Off the top, talk about what you're looking for.
As soon as possible.
And talk about the roles that need to be played and who played those roles. Find out, again, I can't say this enough, if that woman is willing to allow that man to lead. Find out if that woman is going to be submissive, if it's in her nature to be submissive. Find out if, in fact, if she don't have a problem with being a helpmate. In order to be a helpmate, a good helpmate, you have to be willing to receive instruction. That's just a fact.
Last question. Are men afraid of commitment?
A lot of men are afraid of commitment, and I tell you what, justifiably so. There's something that we didn't even get into. Let me bring that up right now before we get up out of here. Because it's real deep. It's real deep. Nowadays, a woman because the court system is set up for a woman. A woman can walk away from a marriage and get a divorce from a man and take damn near everything that that man has with this court system, and they'll give the woman custody of the children, and then he's fighting to see his children. He might have to pay alimony, child support, especially if it's someone who got a lot of money. You got a high value type man or an athlete or something, or even someone who's just struggling, working a regular 9 to 5 who make pretty decent money. A man stands a lot to lose. Again, because the court system was designed for a woman. Now, see, this man and myself, we know that the Almighty said, get that woman a bill of divorcement. She leave his house, and then she ain't gonna be another man's wife. But she don't get the children according to the Almighty. No. Those children should stay with the man. So a lot of men are very hesitant today to be married, and I gotta say this. Well, no, I won't say that because I don't want to discourage anybody. But our women collectively, we just got to do better. Our men collectively, we just got to do better. We got to do better. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Beautifully spoken, Elder. And we appreciate you coming onto the platform and dedicating yourself week by week to bring us this information. All those that want the information will be here. We're going to do our job in promoting it and marketing it a little bit more. But for the most part, we appreciate everybody that did tune in with us. We can't thank you enough. And thank you for those that shared the video. Hallelujah. We appreciate you.
Let me say one more thing before we sign up out of here. I got a question. Somebody type in the answer real quick. Who tends to gain more from a marriage? Is it the husband or is it the wife? Who gains more? Now, keep in mind, at least 70 to 80% of women initiate the divorce from a marriage. So who tends to gain more from a marriage? And this is the reason men are tending to be more reluctant to getting married. Because in a lot of cases, it's not our way. If it goes bad, then a man has a lot more to lose. And then when a man gets involved with his household, say they have children, and he loves the fact of being married, even his wife, regardless of whether the issues that they should be able to work out. Say if she just decides she wants to go because it's going to be a better benefit to her, or instead of a better benefit to that family. And I say family because if you have a child or children involved, then that's a union. That husband and that wife creates that union, and you have a family. And most men aren't just going to walk away from that family. Most men are not going to do that. It has to be like something really horrific that they're going through in order for a man to walk away. But not like so for most women. Or should I say most women here in this Western Hemisphere, here in these United States. Again, 70, 80%. Y'all do the research yourself. 70 to 80% of women initiate the divorce because they're unhappy. It's not a man, and we stated this earlier, it is not a man's job to make a woman happy. Matter of fact, you have to be happy within yourself. We can only add to your happiness. Period. So, that being said.
Right. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Give this video a like. Follow us on YouTube as well. Shalom.